states and countries that are using Bitcoin. For example, the state of Texas has introduced a bill for their strategic Bitcoin reserve. Now, they won't go out and purchase Bitcoin, but what they will do is they'll allow you to pay your taxes in Bitcoin, and they'll hold on to that. So it's not quite the same thing as the Bitcoin Act introduced into Congress, but I do think that is a positive step forward. There are many large Bitcoin mining facilities in Texas that have actually brought a lot of money to the state, but then also helped balance the electrical grid, because with ERCOT and a lot of the utility providers in the state of Texas, especially during inclement cold weather and freezes, which Texas really isn't prepared for. It's prepared for the heat and the hot, which they're pretty good at dealing with. But when it gets cold, if a lot of people demand a lot of electricity, what Bitcoin miners do is, while they're basically a live battery, right? So they are constantly consuming energy, and then they can release that energy in a split second back to the grid. They can power down, which the Bitcoin miners have done in the past. They do get a kickback from the state for doing that, so that they don't have a whole lot of loss of revenue, but it allows that energy to be saved in a live manner. It's not like a battery, because with a battery, you have to transport that electricity to somewhere else, and also batteries degrade over time and they lose their electrical ability to save energy over time. Whereas with a live battery like a Bitcoin miner, the energy is already being produced and it's freely available to just be switched off to another location. It also allows Bitcoin miners to be out in the middle of nowhere, next to, West Texas, where it's a lot of nothing. Between El Paso and Fort Worth, there's not a whole lot, but you can put out a bunch of solar panels and windmill generators to generate a lot of electricity. You don't need personnel on site 24/7, but Bitcoin miners can produce the energy that, or use the energy produced by the solar panels and the wind farms to generate that electricity, and then commoditize it and send that Bitcoin to other places, so that, you don't have to have infrastructure on site to be able to use that electricity in the local market. Because no one wants to live out in West Texas where there's nothing, but you put up a few solar panels, you put up some wind generators, even possibly some nuclear reactors, and then you don't have to have a whole city around it to use that electricity and to make money off of that electricity. You can make money from the generation of the electricity that the Bitcoin miners consume, and then send the Bitcoin somewhere all over the world to commoditize that electricity and to make money from it. So this just being one of the states, I believe it's also like Pennsylvania or somewhere up in the North Coast, where they've also introduced a Bitcoin strategic reserve. Those are the only two states so far that I'm aware of that have actually introduced a reserve style accumulation of Bitcoin. I know the state of Colorado also allows you to pay your taxes in Bitcoin, but I don't think that they hold on to it like this reserve would be. Texas would not sell that Bitcoin that you pay with your taxes, but Colorado does allow you to pay your taxes in Bitcoin. So I don't really think that anyone should be paying their taxes with their cryptocurrency, just because it's just a greater paper trail, and you worked hard to accumulate this asset, and why would you give it up to a state just to pay your taxes? I mean, just pay it with your paper fiat dollars like you have. I doubt anyone has done that quite yet, but there's been a global shift, according to Forbes, about other countries that are starting to adopt Bitcoin, and that's mainly because of Trump is a very positive person when it comes to cryptocurrency. He's got a couple of NFTs, and at the Bitcoin conference this past summer, they gave him one Bitcoin on a physical coin, cool, whatever. But he's been he's a businessman. So he wants to make money, and he wants the people around him to make money. So the cryptocurrency industry has a lot of money, and they've lobbied to have, choke point 2.0 removed and have certain good people introduced into like the CFTC, the SEC, other regulatory important positions inside the administration that will help promote cryptocurrencies instead of block them off from the banking system, because we'll have like a dual system for a while here. I don't think that the US dollar in the traditional financial system is going to go away overnight. I think it's going to take a long, slow death. Unfortunately, the US dollar has already lost 99.9% of its value. So over the past 100 plus years. So it has taken a long, slow death. And I think Bitcoin is we are still early. You'll hear that a lot in the Twitter space and any Bitcoiner that you talk to, but I really do believe even at $100,000, it's hard for the individual or even a family to accumulate one whole Bitcoin now. But in terms of the return that you get on your money or the amount of purchasing power that you'll accumulate over time by holding Bitcoin, I still think we are very early in the game. So just speaking of other countries that have introduced a similar style Bitcoin reserve, you have Switzerland, which has introduced its national bank to hold Bitcoin. They'll need 100,000 signatures between almost 9 million citizens. So, 0.01% or something like that. It's not a small number, to get 100,000 signatures out of 9 million people. Probably not going to be the easiest thing in the world to do, but the fact that these countries are introducing a Bitcoin strategic reserve bill or some similar version thereof is a very positive thing. So you always got to be positive and think about the good things that are happening in this space, because you can get drowned out by a lot of FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt, and you'll question yourself and you'll wonder, are you making the right decisions? Because this isn't something that's going to happen overnight. It's going to take a long time, and even as someone that has made a lot of money in Bitcoin, it can be a little daunting sometimes to have to listen to people that have somewhat good arguments about why Bitcoin won't do X, Y, or Z. But I've held it since 2017, and I'll continue to hold it until 2037 or beyond that. So Bitcoin is my retirement. Bitcoin is my strategic reserve asset. It's like what 90-something% of my net worth is just strictly in Bitcoin. I do have other assets that I own, but Bitcoin is the number one thing. It doesn't give me a dividend or a cash flow or anything like that, but my net worth is high up there, and I'm very thankful to have found this at the time that I did. Just moving on. Germany, who sold something like 50,000 Bitcoin last year, has now one of their German FM, whatever that is, finance minister, I guess, says that Bitcoin should be added to their asset balance sheet. Again, it's just another country. These are countries talking about adding Bitcoin to their balance sheet. This is no small deal. You may have heard me sort of write it off earlier that it's all down to the individuals, and I still believe that, because without the individuals, these countries would not be talking about it. It's very positive, and you got to look on the bright side of life sometimes, even when it can be difficult. Another sort of nation state is Hong Kong. One country, two systems. They're a different, the relationship with Hong Kong and China is very confusing to me. I'm not going to pretend like I know what's going on there, but that I think is one of the things that they have going on there is one country, two systems, like Hong Kong is within China, but it's separate from China still at the same time. But for Hong Kong to be introducing Bitcoin as a national reserve sort of portends to the idea that mainland China is thinking about this as well, and they're using Hong Kong as a test bed. That's just my opinion. I'm not a financial advisor. The only thing I can tell you to do is buy Bitcoin, and I think you'll be happy in 10 or 15 years. Now, I've talked a bit about Russia before as well. they have openly said that they are using Bitcoin as a way to make national transactions to other countries to circumvent the United States dollar and the Swiss system. Very smart on them, because they figured out a way to avoid sanctions. They can still, I believe that their currency has actually done really well since the United States cut them off from the SWIFT system and the billions of dollars of US dollars that they had in their account. It's a bad move on the United States. If the United States really wanted to stick the foot to Russia, they would have, kept them. They wouldn't have given them the opportunity to use Bitcoin or to even think about it had they still had those billions of US dollars. But now that they're using Bitcoin, they're able to, just say goodbye to the US dollar. They don't care. They're making lots of money dealing with people that want to do trade with them, like China and Iran, and whoever else is part of the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, I don't know what the A is, or the C, or the S, maybe Saudi Arabia, something like that. C might be China, but and also probably India as well. But Russia has been the only one openly saying that they're using Bitcoin specifically to circumvent the sanctions from the US dollar. And then lastly, we have Brazil, like just another country of the BRICS system. BRICS wants to create their own currency, but they're ultimately choosing to use Bitcoin because they can't all decide between themselves who should be in charge of that currency, because everyone wants control of power. So why not adopt something that nobody has control over? And the more of that you get, the more that you can be a part of a fair trade system, and no one can kick you out and prevent you from transacting in this currency. So it's a great thing for countries to hold and to continue to use, and individuals to hold and continue to use. And I just think that we are still on the cusp. This is like the adoption of the internet. It's so important for this new monetary system to come about. I just think that great things are happening, and we've only just seen the beginning of where Bitcoin is going to go over the next 10, 15, 20 years. By the time you're in your 50s or 60s, I think Bitcoin will be in the millions of dollars, tens or hundreds of millions of dollars even, because if these countries really do put their money where their mouth is, pun intended, I think we'll see Bitcoin just eat up all the rest of the traditional financial system. And I think everything will be priced in Bitcoin. There's a saying, I think it might be Mark Twain or somebody else that said, you go poorly slowly and then suddenly. So a lot of these things, slowly then suddenly. I think a lot of these things that we're talking about here are going to happen slowly and then suddenly. So thank you for watching. Please leave a comment and a like, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you.